Welcome to the YCP 2026 conference. We are here at the FIO podcasting booth, and I'm joined by Claire, our YCP Director of Development. Hey, Claire.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Awesome. Claire, what does it mean to you to be a young Catholic professional?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a little bit of it's an interesting time because it's somewhat of a chaotic time a little bit, especially at first. And I know with my own journey to YCP, there's both, as like a practicing Catholic, you're faced with the question of, well, just normally, what am I going to do for work? What interests me? How am I made, and what skills do I have that are going to be fun to use at work and edifying in that respect? So there's a little bit of just wonder there. And then two, you have the question of, like, for me, very much so I had the question of like, well, what in the world does our faith have to do with the fact that we're going to go sit in an office for 40 hours a week, or, go and stitch stitches or something like that? Like, that's an enormous amount of time, and I am of the belief that there's no really area of your life that God doesn't reach. So how is he at work in our work in this immense amount of time? And I was kind of toying with that question as I was a senior in college and facing like being a young Catholic professional. When first I actually read Laborem Exercens in a class, which is really cool. Everyone should read that. JP2 is awesome, obviously, and he's very psychologically oriented. And so when you read it, it just makes sense. Like, you read it and you think like, yeah, that's how I've been feeling. That makes sense. And so he talked about work, and it was kind of a light bulb moment in my mind of like, oh, this is what work is for a Catholic professional. And this is what work really actually could be if you approach it in that respect. And then beginning work, I found YCP. I was like, okay, awesome. Someone's talking about this. Because this is, to work is an enormous amount of your time. And it's not really talked about on how your faith works with work. So that was, I think, being a young Catholic professional, it's a time of learning both about yourself and the world, and learning about God too, right? And at play in your life. And then just practically figuring out, what am I doing? And that can last like 3 years. Then you can feel like you're good about it. And then you're like faced with that question again. And so it's an interesting time and kind of a chaotic time at times.
For sure. What are some of the ways, you started by saying, there are ways to sanctify your work? How do you sanctify your work on the day-to-day?
Oh my gosh, I could always be better about this. And I have much to learn. I work with the donors of YCP. And so one thing I'll try and do is, and this was actually taught to me by Kevin Fitzpatrick, who helps me with development, is to pray before each meeting you have. And just a quick little prayer of okay, especially if I'm nervous, I have no idea where this meeting is going to go. Who knows? Just be like, okay, God, guide me. Or at times when, we are human, we feel apathetic about work. It was a long weekend. You went and visited family or something. You got back really late at night and you're back at them Monday morning. And I just try, especially in those moments where I don't feel like I have the energy or the zeal that I want to have, to just say, God, fill my lack. And I try and, especially in moments where I'm feeling discouraged, give it to God and say, okay, God, this is an awesome organization that we have. Connect me with the right people whose heart is oriented towards what we're doing. And I think it's in those moments that I that week will have just this amazing meeting with this awesome person who's super excited about YCP and totally zeroed in. And so that in a lot of ways it is a surrender. I see that impact. And then I try, like, I have this tiny little whiteboard. I don't know if you've seen it at my desk. And I'll try and write like the names of people or prayer requests, or like, if someone says, hey, I can't meet with you, like my mom is sick or something like that. And try and write those, just so like 2:00 is like 2 p.m. is my worst hour. So like at that hour, I can be like, okay, this is for these people, or this is for this person. So those are some small, very small ways I'm trying to live my faith.
I love that, because that leads to one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, when I think of someone who is really good at the follow up and follow through, I think of you immediately.
Wow.
And so, as you were saying, you'll take the prayer requests and you write it on the whiteboard. I think that's something that professionals of all generations, not just young professionals, it can sometimes be a struggle, right? How often do we hear someone say, give me your phone number. I'll call you. I'll text you,
Yeah.
right? And that follow up might happen, but then the follow through, we all live busy lives. And I would just love to unpack how, whether it's your systems, your thought processes behind, you truly are someone who, when you say, I'm going to follow up and I'm going to do this, you always exceed the expectations. And so, yeah, just systems, processes, why is that important?
That's a good question. Practically having the systems is really nice. So we have like a CRM, and that helps me, like, okay, if John says like, okay, right now is a really chaotic time. Check with me in June. If I don't put that anywhere, there is no way I'm going to remember to check in with him in June. And so having whatever system it is, but having a system that alerts you, or maybe it's just like your Google Calendar or Outlook calendar, that might get a bit busy, but having a little note, like if it's really like, okay, they're back from vacation or something like that, I'll like put a big block on like, check in with them, like how was Spain, things like that. And then sometimes it's nice too with my work, because I get to ask questions like, how was Spain? How's the new grandbaby? Like these kinds of fun questions to check in. But it's important because really, especially with my work, these are people who are very interested in giving back. And that's such a beautiful thing. And so you don't want to be the reason that they're not able to do that. And connect them with this awesome work that we're doing, and connect them with the opportunity to support all of like these young adults who are here. Like they want to, just now's the right time, like check in with them again. And something that helps with me is when I'll follow up, check in, and it may be many times. Like there was actually one person that I was going to visit with in Houston, and I wasn't able to connect with him, but I checked in a couple times afterwards, just say like, hey, I missed you while I was in town. Like I'd love to do a video call. And he finally got back with me. He was like, I'm so sorry. It's been so crazy at work. Like, thank you for checking in. And like, I love YCP. Like, I want to be connected. I want to be mentoring. I want to see exactly how I can help. I want to support you guys. Like, in all of these ways. But from your emails, you just never know. But I think it's just so important to continue to put those feelers out there, because people are busy. People have things going on. And so just always trying to be a connecting hand, in spite of all that is really important for us all.
And one of the things you've shared with me in the past, whether it's monetary gifts or even in the beginning of this conversation, you shared this responsibility we have to unpack our gifts, right? Because it's a gift to other people, right? Mm-hmm. And when we're able to understand ourselves, then we're able to execute on that mission God has given us, right? Tell me a little bit more about that ethos of when you invite someone in to YCP, or you invite someone into whatever it might be, that you're opening up the door for them to also be able to give their gifts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exciting. And sometimes, it's not top of mind. It's like, okay, I've got to meet with these people. But actually, it's their excitement that always reminds me of like the giftedness of it. Because it is like, and you see that excitement in the person too, which it's very clear in my work, maybe in a way that isn't always as clear in others. But having someone who is recently retired, that's a lot of times how it goes. Is recently retired, they're at this point where they're looking back and they're seeing how connections they made were really pivotal in their career, really pivotal in their life, or really pivotal in their faith life. I think that's a beautiful opportunity in my work, is like I get to hear hundreds or thousands of stories of how God has worked in people's lives. Like, isn't that just so cool? And so they have this awareness of when it was, when I was 55 and I met that person and they got my heart to open up a little bit more and my life changed so drastically. Or when I was 12, or when I was 26, like there's all of these different points and it happens in such different ways, but they are coming to us, YCP, and wanting to help give back and give those things to the young adults. I'm looking like there's a bunch of young YCPers walking around, but to the young adults. And that's so beautiful to give that moment where they want to give those professional connections. Mentorship is huge. Like there's so many internal shout out. There are so many amazing professionals in YCP who are signed up on Mentor Cloud. Like I was just talking with one. There's so many amazing, like really incredible careers, the most thoughtful people, like they're incredible, and they want to talk to the young adults and to help them because they know like a professional career has so many challenges, and they want to help you through that because they've been helped or because they haven't. And there's one person, he comes to the conference every year and he's like, what I would have done to have this, he wants to so bad. And so to see their excitement and you see, oh, this is this gift to be able to use my skills that I have to connect with this person, just she and I, or him and I, and then also to connect them with YCP and how exciting that is for them. And it brings them such joy. And then on the counterpart, like we have YCP because of them. So it's all these gifts all around, really.
So speaking of the YCPers all around, what are you most excited about during this conference?
So within my work, I love the mentor workshop so much because I get to see all of these people who I've met with over the years or just met with, and they're super excited and want to come. And their excitement in coming and seeing, like, I have this like very vivid memory of one person who, like, I was telling him about YCP, he was like, yeah, sounds interesting, like I'll check it out, like not super sure of it yet. And then I invited him to come to the mentor at the conference because the idea really resonated with him. And he comes, and this was at the Omni. So I see him, like, his head start coming up in the escalator, and you see him looking around, and he's like, wow. And then he sees me, and I'm like, Mike, like, thank you for coming. And he's like, wow, you really got something going on here. It just kills me. So it's kind of selfish because I get to see all these people finally, like, it's not me they're meeting with now. Like, they're meeting with the people that they're so excited to support, and so excited to see them. And then on the counterpart, like, there's that excitement with the young adults too, to be able to be like, whatever question is kind of on their mind. Like, being a young Catholic professional, you have questions on your mind of what do I do here? What does this mean? Like, okay, I'm feeling kind of stuck. How do I move forward? And seeing their kind of relief and coming out of the room, that's always like so exciting.
Well, so you work with our mentors every single day for the
Yeah,
most part.
yeah.
And I'm with you. The St. Joseph workshop is probably one of my favorite staple moments of every year. What is it that you're hearing? Because we often hear from young professionals, I don't know what to bring to the mentor, right?
Oh,
Or I
yeah.
want to make sure I don't waste this person's time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this inside view into the actual mentors. What is it that they want to know from us? What is it that they want to hear from us?
Ooh, that's a good question. There is a level of preparation that is very important that you have, but that's honestly just being reflective of your experiences, right? Formulate what is the question that's going through your mind.
Does it have to be like a specific business related question?
No, not at all. So it can be like there are a lot of mentors that I work with who, like, I love to ask them, like, what are people asking you? You know, because I'm curious too. Like, what are all the things? You know, there's such a wide array of things they can bring to the table in front of the mentor. Like, what are they? And so sometimes I'm feeling stuck at work. How can I adjust? Where can I go? Professionally, that person is going to have probably a lot more ideas than you might have. Like, there are just so many jobs in the world. I love to learn about all the different jobs, and they have a lot more years of seeing all those jobs. So they might have an idea that you just aren't aware of. So things professionally oriented, like, I'm really struggling with this manager. How do I make this work better? How do I express like the structure I want, or something like that? Looking to shift and you're not sure where. Or personally, I'm trying to discern this or that. I always love beginning with the question of what did that look like for you? Because you can learn so much that, especially for those questions that you haven't really fully formulated yet, but I'm feeling stuck or this just isn't quite right. Like, do you remember that time? Like, what did this look like for you? And then I think from that point on, you can get a lot of insights. The other thing, I was just talking to a mentor this morning, and she said she loves the feedback on her feedback. So when she is responding to them and giving them her ideas, she loves when they tell her that was totally irrelevant. Like, you just missed the mark there. Or like, oh yeah, that actually is really good. Like, here's why. And she's like, it's hard when you're just like, oh yeah, thanks. And she's like, okay, well, was that good? Like, I wanted to, tell me a little bit more so I can do a little bit better and in trying to craft my advice for you. Yeah. So those are a few things. One other practical thing is just sending a recap email. So these people are busy. And they're busy, but they're so, like, it is so life-giving for them to spend their time with you. So don't worry about that piece. Just worry about, like, how can I make it as easy as possible? Okay, so sending an email saying, offering places and times when you're trying to connect, or if it's Zoom call, offering times so that they don't have to think of it. They can look at the times you gave them and just say, oh, that one works. Perfect. Let's go. And then afterwards, sending a recap email. And it doesn't have to be, don't make it super long. Just like, hey, Bob, here are the things we discussed. Like, that was really helpful. Like, we mentioned we'd connect again a few months from now. Like, I'll reach out to you a month in advance or something. And like, thank you so much for your time. That way they have it on hand when maybe they want to go to the next meeting with you. They can say, oh yeah, Natasha, we talked about this, and this, and then they can dive back in. So those are a few like very practical things that you can do to make it really the most meaningful.
The follow up, right? And then
the follow up.
Through. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Claire, last question. Why? So obviously, Blessed Takayama Yukon is our patron this year. Why is he important for young professionals?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think the steadiness, and I love how there was a quietness to him, I think, even though he was somehow the samurai. Or maybe I'm like projecting that onto him, I don't know. But to me, there's like this steadfastness and this quietness. And there's these great quotes around the conference here from him, where he's essentially saying, like, I'm not going to give up my faith for all the riches in the world. And if that's what it comes to, that I'm exiled from everyone I know, everything that I have, then so be it. Here I am. And so I think sometimes we don't always need to like shake up the world, but sometimes in your quiet resolve can speak so loud, and it can be the way that you carry that cross. So I think it's a really beautiful and very different example for us today.
Very different. This is like something we've never done before.
Yeah.
And kind of sneak peek, our saint next year is Saint Catherine of Siena. Are you familiar with Saint Catherine?
A little, though. I need to be more.
I know.
I'm excited to be more.
Me too. I'm excited. Okay. I know I said last question. This really is the last question. What's a goal you're pursuing right now?
I'm trying to learn Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's hard. It's hard. I had like this really great schedule where I was like getting up early, drink my coffee, study Spanish, and then once my coffee kicked in, I'd go for a run. But I do travel a little bit for work, so like that's impossible with like a 5 a.m. flight or something. And then that knocks me off for the week. But I just started tutoring online. Mm-hmm. So if anyone's trying to learn a language, Preply is so good. Okay. I feel like I've talked about this so much this conference. It's a little embarrassing. But it's really good. You meet with just an individual, Carla for me, and we chat once a week, and she has like lessons built out for you. So that's been really cool. And then just trying to like practice it every day and trying to think like, oh, how would I say that in Spanish? A little bit.
Okay, next year we'll do this in Spanish.
Oh, hopefully. That would be awesome.
Well, Claire, thanks so much. We're going to head into Mass. Thanks for all you do for YCP.
No, thank you, Natasha. Thank you for pulling me in.
Of course. Thanks for coming in last minute.
Yeah, you're welcome.